Hey everybody, welcome back to another Film of the Week. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. I hope you guys have been enjoying some of the newer forms of content on this channel. Just some of the news roundup videos. Hope you guys been enjoying that returning of a segment. If you guys don't like it, just let me know. But just doing some experimenting as of late. So hope you guys are liking that. We will be having another news roundup video pop up on Saturday, which we might just maintain. We might just make that just dedicating each Saturday to a news roundup. So, so if you guys enjoy that segment, let me know. And just generally with just using voice, rather than on screen, sort of stuff. Let me know your thoughts on all that stuff in the comment section. So, but with this being a film of the week, I was going to do what I promised to do, which was Never Really, Sometimes Always. I was going to review that, but it hasn't appeared on streaming yet, and I just don't feel like paying the money to watch it again. I love it; it's great, but I just don't want to pay it up. I just would rather watch it for free. Um, so I'm waiting for it to pop up again on whatever streaming platform. But in the meantime, I figured to talk about a movie that I always kind of have in the back of my head. Some of you guys have movies that you kind of always have in the background, in your conscience if you're just like a film buff, and all that sort of jazz. There's always like some movie that you kind of play in your head. Um, and this one I usually play a lot because of just how just great it is, and generally my overall just love for just the craftsmanship. Um, so I figured to talk about one of my favorite filmmakers working today, that being Paul Thomas Anderson, and one of my favorite actors working today, that being Joaquin Phoenix. Um, and that film that we're going to talk about, I believe, is their first collaboration, which is, of course, The Master, which was released in 2012, written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, starring Joaquin Phoenix, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Amy Adams, Rami Malek, and follows a guy named Freddie Quill, played by Joaquin Phoenix, who is a veteran returning from service, and he's trying to find his stability, trying to find his place in society, um, and through this wondrous journey that he has, jumping from job to job, you see uh, a lot of his behavior and um, a lot of the walls that he has placed, a lot of the patterns that he has, a lot of the things that he uh, does in his overall mental space that he is in. He's a very sexually driven character. He's just kind of throws himself to women, fantasizes about women a lot of the time. Um, you could, I guess, consider him a misogynist. Um, he's he's very infatuated by just by the female body, um, and has the spirit and the overall just in some to some extent physicality of a like of an animal, that of like a dog or something like that. Um, and kind of like a stray animal. At least if you were to define his overall characteristic, it's that of a stray animal. Just kind of looking for something, some sort of purpose, some sort of belonging, um, and and he finds that within Philip Seymour Hoffman, who is a leader um, of basically a cult, and um, the the uh, the whole backdrop is potentially that of Scientology if you were looking at like the real inspirations for Philip Seymour Hoffman's character. Um, and Philip Seymour Hoffman takes Joaquin Phoenix under his wing, and and they start to form what appears to be initially some kind of friendship, but really what is just a a toxic relationship, one that's led by Philip Seymour Hoffman and Joaquin Phoenix being the obedient one. And throughout the film, you see that battle between really what is control, um, in both the relationship and also just between each other, specifically with Joaquin Phoenix and how he is um, building his confidence, building more of his self esteem, and ultimately seeking more of a mastery of self and less to do with an obedience to another person. And and in essence, that is what the film is about. When you think about just the title that the film bears, The Master, it has very varying definitions, but ultimately it resides within the same statement, that of being of control. But it has different gray areas. So, for instance, if you think of Joaquin Phoenix's character, as I said, the kind of the way that you can look at that character is that of like a stray dog, or or at least just some sort of animal, at least by how he is choosing to represent that character and how that character uh, largely, throughout the film, uh, plays to Philip Seymour Hoffman's character, which is that of a pawn. It's just like for the dynamics. Philip Seymour Hoffman is the owner, and Joaquin Phoenix is the animal on the leash. Um, so you can view it from that point of view, or you can view it from just the overall idea the film is presenting, that of mastery of self, that about just control, about balance. Um, and you could also view it in a spiritual plane, which I believe you can absolutely see in this film, because it's the closest I think Philip Seymour Hoffman, the closest that Paul Thomas Anderson gets to a spiritual plane in any of his films, because what Paul Thomas Anderson presents a lot in his movies is solid craftsmanship. Less to do with, I mean, there are emotions that are implemented in his films, but what drives his films more so is his technicalities, and just um, the solid just build of those technicalities of the cinematography, of just the framing, the performances, and a lot of that is brought into The Master as well, with Joaquin Phoenix just being who he is. I've easily Of the performances that I've seen of his, this is easily his best work, by far and away his best work. Just by his mannerisms, just by he holds himself, the expressions. There's a great scene um, where you can kind of like say it's like his Good Will Hunting scene, Paul Thomas Anderson's Good Will Hunting scene, the no blinking scene, where the challenge is that he cannot blink, but he has to answer a series of questions, and if he blinks, then he has to start all over, and um, and it's a breaking of those barriers, it's a breaking of those walls, and the funny thing about the film is that it's just a load of bullshit. Philip Seymour Hoffman's character is just making it up as he goes along, and um, and the whole purpose of why Philip Seymour Hoffman keeps Joaquin Phoenix around is because he sees that in this bullshit, someone is actually deriving something from it. Someone's actually gaining something from it, in that it's validating his whole narcissism, his whole ego. And that's, in essence, why he keeps him around, because it satisfies him, it satisfies that ego, and satisfies all of this delusion that he is building up. For basically, because in essence, what Philip Seymour Hoffman's character is that of a con artist. And if no one's buying his products, then he's he has nothing to gain. So when Joaquin Phoenix comes along, you see that he is basically that of um, the source of his validation, the source of, in some extent, his motivation to keep on going. And it building more of his empire and more of his cult. You know, and in essence, giving more life to his cult, giving his cult more energy. Um, Because you see when some people could challenge those beliefs, even though everyone knows it's not stewed in actual fact or any real experiences, you see how frustrated and angry he gets, because that is the real world coming in, and telling him, look, hey, come on, we all know what's going on here. And he's offended by that, because how dare you try to you know to uh, to destroy what I'm building. So that's in essence their relationship, and that's why in essence it's also extreme toxicity, because it's all to Philip Seymour Hoffman's benefit. It's not to help Joaquin Phoenix, and it's not to help anybody. It's just purely for his own self, and purely for profit, and for satisfying his own consciousness, his own ego. Um, but um, but but in the exploration of Joaquin Phoenix's psyche, again, that getting back to that scene, that no blinking scene. I mean, it's probably the best, to point out, because in film you can always point to the scene of where they define the themes. You can really get point to that scene to where they really define the entire movie, because not only is Joaquin Phoenix brilliant in that scene, but it demonstrates just his overall mentality, that character, where he's at, what he is needing, which is that of therapy, which is that of some sort of guiding hand, some sort of help. It's a character seeking help but doesn't know how to ask for it. You see those walls break down in that scene, and the waves, the waves in the film, that overall symbolic nature, what they represent throughout the film, and how it may overall how it represents Joaquin Phoenix's psyche, his desire to find a balance, ultimately that of the water, what the ocean waves represent. There is a spiritual edge to the film. There is absolutely a sense of spirituality that is embedded within the master, and it's not apparent in any of other Paul Thomas Anderson's films. Again, what leads more Paul Thomas Anderson's films is that of technicality, really solid technicality, and really just the overall efforts being put by everybody, by the performers, by the crew. Um, this is more so to do with how you feel watching it, and leading with those feelings, leading with this atmosphere, this mood. That's what really is leading the master. The performances and everything else help elevate it and really put it in a space of brilliance, really. Um, but it's that mood, it's that atmosphere, it's that bless me. Um, it's that it's that focus on that feeling, that focus on just the emotion, that I think really gives this film more of a sense of weight, and generally gives this relationship that they're building at the center of it with Philip Seymour Hoffman and with Joaquin Phoenix just more meat. It's not just with the performances that are giving it that meat, it's just the surrounding nature of the film, that overall atmosphere, that overall just that sense, that's that energy that is being built. That's what really gives it a lot more substance and gives it that sense of weight and that sense of um like just like again just that wave of emotion that is felt when seeing these characters kind of at odds with each other, specifically Joaquin Phoenix's character, and you're just like at some point just rooting for him to get out of this relationship and for him to stand up on his own 2 feet. And he eventually does, and it's great, and it's that scene at the end where Joaquin Phoenix goes to visit Philip Seymour Hoffman's character again. You ultimately just see his detachment from him. You see his lack. There's that small part of him that is linked still, and he's like doing his best to not be obedient. Doing his best to not become submissive again. And you see Philip Seymour Hoffman doing his best to draw him back in. Like, it's a beautiful, beautiful piece about toxicity and about one's escape from toxicity, and within all of that, their strength, their ability to grow, and their ability to achieve a sense of balance and a sense of peace, a sense of mastery within themselves. And that's why ultimately the film is labeled The Master. It's why it's called The Master. And it's brilliant. It's a brilliant, brilliant study, a brilliant showcase of those themes. Terrific performances. Philip Seymour Hoffman is just amazing in this. That scene where I mentioned earlier, where someone was like battling him on his beliefs, it's great because it just perfect. It just that again, that scene really, really defines that character. It really shows you who that character is and how scummy that character is. Um, and the supporting cast is also good. Amy Adams is good. Paul Thomas Anderson, just what he brings to the table for technicality, that commitment to the time period, the aesthetics, the overall filtering in the frame, just that kind of retro-like quality in the frame, giving it that aesthetic of like the 60s or that of the 70s, um, or even earlier than that. It's great. It's just a great looking film. It's a great film to feel. It's a great film to just watch by performances. just generally speaking, the film, the overall wave of how you feel of it, what you're seeing in it, what you're hearing by how it's written also is just wonderful. It's a brilliant, brilliant piece, easily his best work, and I believe Paul Thomas Anderson even agrees that he believes it to be his best work. It definitely is. It is a solid piece of work, and it's the one film of his that I sit with the most because of just how I feel in thinking about the master. You know, with the other films, like I said, with Phantom Thread or There'll Be Blood or Punch Drunk Love, it's less to do with the emotion and less and more to do with what's happening in the frame. And those films are good in that overall, mentality because of just how they're utilizing um, those general interests, that general mentality, that personality, or that sort of lens. With this, it's trading that in for more of an emotion and more to do of a spiritual guidance, and you get something much more meaningful, much more fascinating, performance wise, just excellent. Like, there's just so many great things about this film, and if you haven't seen it, you're doing yourself a huge disservice, and I highly recommend checking it out when you guys get a chance to, because man, is it good. It is just so, so, so good. So so yeah, so those are my thoughts on The Master. I love it. I absolutely love this film. And if you guys haven't seen it, please check it out. I don't know if it's available on streaming anywhere, but if it is, please check it out. Just really, really good stuff. At Paul Thomas Anderson and Joaquin Phoenix at their best, at their just top tier best. So yeah, so those are my thoughts on The Master. I'm gonna start heading out now because everybody's doing their thing. Garbage, the garbage truck is right in front of me. Cars are starting to move, so it's getting a little noisy. So I'm just gonna start heading out. But it's perfect timing. But you guys want your thoughts on The Master and everything Paul Thomas Anderson? If you guys like his films, I love his movies. I haven't seen his most recent film, Licorice Pizza. Was that any good? You guys let me know if I should check that out or not. I kind of skipped out on it, but you guys let me know. But and your thoughts, of course, on Joaquin Phoenix, how you feel about him as a performer. Just love him. But you guys let me know all your thoughts, everything Master, Paul Thomas Anderson, Joaquin Phoenix, in the comment section below. And that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.